Much again for being here on 10 over 10. That was definitely a treat for us as we move on here. Time for some real conversations. Our conversation today is about campus madness, and this involves some of the things that we hear are happening on college campuses near us. We hear there are drugs, there is sex for grades, sex for money, there is corruption in student leadership. We hear all types of horror stories, so today we're going to get to the bottom of it, see if that's really what's going on, and also see if we can get some ways to avoid temptations while you are on campus, if you're just planning on getting into campus or you're already there. So we'll talk about it with my panelists for today. I want to introduce, sitting next to me here is Pete Odera. He is the pastor of Waterbrook Church. He's a producer, he's a musician, and many other things. Welcome to 10 over 10.
Thank you. Thank you, Joey. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, and of course Maureen from Milani. Give it up for her again. Thank you. And finally, we have Kencent Kameru, who is a student at Moi University. You're also the entertainment director there. Yeah, so we'll be talking to you as well. Welcome to the show. Maureen, I want to start with you because you're a graduate. You're an advocate.
I am.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
That happened this year, right?
That happened 2 months ago.
2 months ago, when I saw the pictures. Congratulations. Amazing.
Thank you.
So tell us about your campus experience. Rewind back to that if you could. Was it as crazy as people are making it sound?
It actually was. These things that we see, these things that we hear about, where there's drugs and there's sex and there's misbehavior, these things have always happened. I at least know that from my brother, who's a lot older than me, and we had conversations of that nature. I was in university pretty recently,
right? So
it's the same thing. We've seen it. I have classmates who've been expelled for reasons like that. I've had, in fact, today, Wamboy and I were having a discussion about a classmate that she had who was sleeping with a lecturer who was then expelled, the girl who was then expelled.
For grades?
And yes, and her lecturer lost his job.
Okay.
But if those are the ones who are caught, you can only imagine how many people are going through the exact same thing, and no one knows. And it's really such a shame, because the main thing that you go to school for, I believe, that there are two things you go to school to do, and one is to read, and we always talk about reading, and it's always the most important thing, but the second thing is to build your character. And at the end of the day, who do you want to be when you are out in the world and you're by yourself, and your classmates are no longer around you? Who do you want to be? And I think sometimes we seem to be losing the plot.
Now, Kencent, entertainment director, Moi University. Yep. You're the one in charge of planning the parties. What's your job?
Yeah, definitely very much involved in planning these parties. And what I can say is that these things happen, right? But the thing is that guys are stretched up. You have a lot of load work. Coursework is there. You have so much to handle. You want to socialize. Apart from being a student, you definitely want to know your friends. You just, campus right now, you want to know your desk mate, your other classmate out there. But now it comes a moment where guys do not interact. Like currently guys do not interact a lot. But when we create these social events, guys now are able to come together, they're able to talk, they're able to know each other. So there's the other side of it, the positive side of it. It's not like I'm defending the whole thing, but
well, I mean, you're very well dressed.
Thank you very much.
I mean, that entertainment budget must be quite something.
Big up for my personal designer, Ashok Sani.
Oh, really? Okay. All right, Pete, what do you think about what's happening on campuses? Because we hear the horror stories. I mean, right now, campus seems like a scary place to go. However, people are still going. They're still getting degrees, some of them. So what do you think about this conversation?
University is, it's supposed to be a place of learning, you know, experiencing new things, new ideas, and it's kind of scary because, you know, my firstborn daughter's almost there. She's turning 16 this month, and she's about to go, and so I'm thinking this sounds a bit scary. But I think having remembered what it was like going to college, remembering that first year, it's your first time, this is an experience, my parents are not here, you know, I've got no restrictions, nobody's telling me lights out at whatever time. So I think part of the challenge is really just balancing time, education, fun kind of thing, and I think that's part of the challenge. And we must remember that, you know, when some of us Jurassic age people were in college, what Maureen is saying is that the people who are going to school recently, we didn't go to school with social media. We didn't go to school with some of the pressures that young people are having now, because they have to deal with this, and then it's happening 24/7. It's happening, something that's happening in Los Angeles can immediately happen here, and we catch on with things. We didn't go with that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of influences and pressures on our young people. And then I was in excuse me, I was in court this week, and I happened to be seeing something happening. There's a guy who was charged with riding a border without a license. And he was a student, and he said to the magistrate, I have to hustle to make my money. So he's a student and trying to find some money at the same time.
Right.
These were pressures that certainly we didn't have to deal with. Who taught these kids, who taught these young people, who taught the young people that when you leave high school, this is what you're going to be dealing with? I think that many of our young people are completely unprepared.
Yeah, and they just
completely just land there. And then you have a lot of people coming from I went to school in Kisii, in rural area and whatever. Then you suddenly come to an urban area, and suddenly you're in Nai. and it's Nai with all its lights, all its night. I mean, if you've been downtown tonight, you know what I mean. Just coming here, you see all these cars, all these things some kids just never experienced before. And this kid he's just turned 18, or she's just turned 18.
Yeah.
And then you see some guy with his Prado or Range Rover coming and saying, "Hey, baby, what you want? What you want?
Right.
I'll take you all over the city." These are the pressures that I think our young people are dealing with.
Maureen, did you ever feel like your moral compass was compromised once you stepped onto campus? Because there are people, we've heard stories of people who go there, just well-rounded people, but suddenly I can get drugs easily. People get addicted, they lose scholarships. These are real stories happening. Did you ever feel that pressure?
Personally, fortunately, I didn't. And I think it had a lot to do with, honestly, having something else to do as well during my free time. Like he said, there's a lot of, you have classes, but then there's also month-long, 2-month-long holidays, and you have, and there's all this free time, and you have all these friends who are doing all these things, and then you get confused. Fortunately for me, that is when I'd met Brian and Wamboi, and Elani had started, so I had something to do. I had a productive, positive place to put my youth and my energy and develop something for myself. And if I hadn't met them while I was in campus, then Elani would never have been. So I think I had a good distraction, and my distraction was music. As far as it goes, that's what then I'd suggest that people do. Find something to do with your time that is productive for you. Find something to do that you love, that is not going to be detrimental to you in the future.
Kenson,
yes.
Do you think we're being too hard on you guys? Do you think we're making all this stuff up? Are these realities that are happening?
Definitely, from the parental side, definitely we take it positively, but think about the stress that guys go through. As my colleague there mentioned, you're in campus, it's your first time, you don't have enough to survive, right? And you want to keep it real. You just feel like you need some, you need to be like any other guy. You need to be happy, right? So you need to associate yourself with something that will make you happy and comfortable in campus.
You're very politically correct. You didn't even answer my question. So on that note, we're going to take a look at some of the views. We went to certain campuses and asked people what they think about this topic. So let's take a look at what some of them said.
Sure.
Being young and being told that you'll never be young again, take this opportunity to be outgoing and wild, try new stuff and all that. Most of them actually, I believe, go with the flow, We're young, let's do crazy stuff, we're finally free, so I believe that's the reason they do so.
Friends who are just hyper, they tend to indulge them in these things, so you find them, they just go out there to have sex and alcohol, they take these drugs,
Some people confessed to me when I was in first year. Of course, right now I'm in third year. Some people are confessing that they had not in their lifetime engaged in any sexual activity. But once they arrived here, their friends, they come and meet your make them engage in the sexual activities.
I think it's very tempting because most campus students don't have money, as you know, so they all want to fit in the society or their friends, so they want to get money to fit in. Yeah.
And some always want to get new experiences. After getting stories from their friends about how it feels to get drunk, they always want to get experience.
I don't think anyone can just start, taking alcohol and all that stuff just because you want to. Maybe someone has just told you, kuja tuende.
Is campus student to engage in sex? No, it is tempting because I wish you could have asked a lady.
Okay, some interesting viewpoints from some campuses. I don't even know where to start with it. We'll start with you, Pete. I mean, you get to campus, everybody's doing it, all your friends are partying. It's what's happening, and you want to fit in. Because Kenson has said it's about being social and, you know,
Politically correct.
Yeah, politically correct Kenson. We'll leave him there with his nice suit. But you're trying to fit in. What other ways are you able to fit in if you're not going to follow what, you know, what? Because this is the norm. It's not like there's a group of people who, you know, party a lot on campus. No. There's a huge group.
I think there's an impression. This is not always the case. I say this because I've now been the pastor of the Waterbrook Church for 12 and a half years, and I've done many weddings. Many of these young people who come to me, we do premarital counseling, and I ask them an important question when they're sitting, the both of them. It says, how many did you have? You have to tell your fiance now, what's your situation? Did you have premarital sex before you're in church? And this is the results that's come out. 60 to 80% of the weddings that I've done, the ladies have turned back and said, yes, I am a virgin. And about 30 and 40% of the Christian guys, now, this is what they say, because we don't do these tests and nothing, so don't, you know, anecdotally, this is what I'm finding. I think there's an impression that campuses are wild and crazy and so on. And even though these things happen, I think the reality is, like I said, there's pressures. What do you do? I've had many young people who've been able to come to my office and say, Pastor Pete, this is what's going on. I have to have this. So there's something that Maureen said that's important. And I think it was in the previous program Pastor Kathy was saying, having some kind of authority over you, being able to have a relationship with your parents or with a pastor, a mentor, somebody that you can go and see once a month or once a week or whenever it is and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. So I think the ability of having, not a chaperone, I'm looking for another word for it, but somebody that you can go to and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, somebody who's been through that. I think this sort of balances this thing out. And one of the key things I think that I'm trying to teach my kids is be you. Learn to be an independent thinker, that we're not all going together. Not everybody does it. And the truth is, even if you did a just by hand show in this very room, which I'm not going to do, where you will find that not everybody does it. I like what these girls just told me just now, their dance group. Do things like that. Get involved in dance and sport. There's a lot of things that we can... Exactly. Just like Maureen said, a place where you can take your energy out. Yeah. And I think on top of all that, I'd say this, is that everybody was created for a purpose. And the center of our entire reason for being is that God created you for a reason. And this is the time when you're alone and have some independent time to really discover what is this thing that I was created to do. Yeah. And I think having a positive relationship with your Maker is so important. Having a positive relationship with God, this is the place to build that thing, and then you'll discover that you've got a gift that you can share with the world.
Preach, preacher. Okay. Kenson, I'm going to give you another chance.
No problem.
Okay, to come clean.
All right.
What was really going down on college campuses, what I'm trying to say. You're the entertainment director.
Sure.
You plan parties. Things go down on at those parties, I'm sure, that are not, approved by administration. Is this correct?
It depends. It depends with actually the organizers and the control of the students and the maturity. There's a bit of, let's talk about exploration, right? Because that one, guys come from all over the country. You meet a guy from Mombasa, there's someone from Wasingishu, there's someone from Central, and then if we look back in high school, our parents are very strict. Some of the institutions we have are a bit, like strict, yeah? You don't have that opportunity to exercise or, to go out or to do anything. And now, your parent probably take it positively on a lighter note. They think that, I'll have a control of my kid for the rest of my life. But now, you send them to the university. What happens? Actually, those guys that has a lot of freedom back in high school, they don't do, they're able to have control. But look at this. This guy have been in primary school where he did not have the freedom to do anything.
Let me cut you short just because of time. So is that a yes or a no? Do these things happen or they don't?
They do.
Okay, thank you so much, Kenson. That's all I was looking for, really. We're running short on time, like I said. We've got to wind this up. Maureen, maybe, as a success story, because there's a lot of young girls looking up to you, you're an advocate. Okay, we don't see this that often. I mean, make some noise for that. Come on. And an entertainer. This right here, these are the type of people that you should be looking up to and aspiring to be, in my view. So just maybe you can just inspire some people who are making their way into campus, confusion galore, finding all of this stuff that we're talking about happening there and trying to stay strong.
I think one thing that I'd say to girls especially, but to boys as well, who are going into campus is almost exactly what he said. It is very different from high school. Completely different. Your exposure is different. The friends that you have are gone, first of all, and you're meeting all these new people with new influences, and some have done things you've never done, and you're curious and you want to know. At the end of the day, like I said before, who do you want to be when you're done at the end of school? Because school ends 4 years. It's 4 years and then it's over. And you will still be living with everything that you've done post that. Like he just said, when I'm going into premarital counseling, when I'm going into those things come up. Those things that you've done come back. It's not really, I mean, it's all fun and games now, but you don't leave those things in campus. How many people do you know who have a friend who got pregnant, a friend who got an STD, a friend who, there's always that story. Do you want to be that statistic? No. Very unlikely that you want to be that person. So I think it's really just a sense of, I mean, go to the party. I'm not saying sit in your room and do nothing ever. That's not what I'm saying. You need to experience these things, but also when you're there, keep your virtue and keep your honor and keep your character.
Thank you.
Jump in with something real quick.
Just a moment, because we're winding up. Kenson, I just want to say thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
And for being honest. You're really teteaing your people, and I can appreciate that. As entertainment director, you're trying to show us all good, clean, fine.
Have to.
And I can respect that, okay? And very nice suit. Just quickly as we...
I want to just bounce off of what Maureen has said. Your values are important. What are your values? And I think that this is important for us to really, because we're going through a certain time in Kenya what do you really believe in? And when you pick these values, that's what you will become. And I think that leaving the show, I think the thing we need to really, I want to leave with the present audience and the audience who are watching, is that we need to select, this is who I want to become. The values of integrity, honor, justice, these are things that I want to find, and that's a place that we can go to, because this is critical in deciding where you will end up. Thanks, Julie.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to our panelists. Give them a huge hand for coming through and talking real with us. I really appreciate you guys being here for sure. As you've heard, there is a negative picture painted out there, but you get to make the choice of whether you are going to make it a positive one. Find a positive passion to pursue, and it doesn't all have to be about books, but it can also be positive, all right? So thank you so much. Plug into the conversation using the hashtag 10over10. I'm going to hand it over to Willis Rabu, who's standing by with some hot trending topics.